Good evening, viewers. We're here live at the University Library to interview two very accomplished professors who have developed theories on the study of intelligence. Mr. Gardner and Mr. Sternberg will introduce you to their theories and research in each of the interviews this evening. We hope you enjoy. Welcome to the university, Mr. Sternberg. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, Whitney. How are you?
Good. Can we begin this interview with a little background information on you?
Yes, I'm currently the provost and professor of psychology at the Oklahoma State University. I began studying intelligence based on a test anxiety that I had as a freshman in college. I then developed the Sternberg test of mental ability, which began my study of intelligence.
Intelligence. I know there have been many scholars who developed theories and studies on the topic. What exactly is your definition of intelligence?
I define intelligence as the mental activity directed towards adaptation to and selection of real-world environments. I also feel that intelligence is made up of several different dimensions, which a traditional mental ability test, like IQ tests, really don't cover all of them, which led me to develop the theory of successful intelligence.
I personally have studied your theory of successful intelligence in some of my undergrad courses. Can you elaborate on the three parts that are involved in this theory?
I've broken the theory into three parts, all of which point to the fact that intelligence should be considered a characteristic of people. The three parts are practical ability, creative ability, and analytical ability. I describe practical intelligence as what makes a person have the ability to achieve personal goals. To achieve those goals, each person needs to understand and adapt to their personal situation on a daily basis.
Can you give me an example of a personal goal that a student may want to achieve?
I can do that. Most teachers place a high value on conformity and cooperation in the classroom. So a student that can typically conform and cooperate following the guidelines of the classroom daily will have a greater chance to achieve their personal goal to graduate high school with honors.
I can see where people would need to be intelligent enough to adapt and understand when it's appropriate to change. What are your thoughts on students who need to do things in a more hands-on type of manner?
The second part of the theory is creative ability, which I've defined as involving inventing, imagining, and discovering. This part addresses students that need the hands-on material and actually put an object or activity with a lesson.
What if the students run into a problem or issue when performing this hands-on activity?
The third part of the theory is the analytical ability, which the students are able to break down ideas into their components for evaluation, comparing, and critiquing. Students are usually intrigued when they can pick apart an object or design to figure out why the design didn't work, or critique it if it did work and see what could be better or improved.
How do you think this theory of successful intelligence hinders or helps students?
Each of the abilities can be greatly improved upon for each student when all three parts are combined to work together. Students learn the best this way and get the most information out of the lesson.
I can see that students would get the most out of the lesson when they are getting the information, applying the information to something hands-on, and then problem-solving when things don't work or critiquing if they do.
That is the idea and my thoughts on intelligence.
Well, thank you, Mr. Sternberg, for coming out to speak with us this evening, and I'm sure that the information you provided has been helpful to all those who've tuned in.
Thank you for having me out, and I'm happy to return to any help I can provide with students. Our next guest tonight is the one and only Howard Gardner, the man behind the theory of multiple intelligences. Why don't we start off by hearing a little more about you, Mr. Gardner?
Well, all right. I'm a professor of cognition and education at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. I've received honorary degrees from 30 colleges and universities. I've also authored 29 books translated into 32 languages and published several hundred articles.
You sound like an awfully intelligent man. So tell me, Mr. Gardner, how would you define intelligence?
Well, some people may define intelligence as the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills, but I say everyone has their own unique way of learning. There are many different ways that may demonstrate their intellectual abilities, which leads me to my theory of multiple intelligence.
Oh yes, your theory. This is most interesting. Would you please explain to us what your theory of multiple intelligences is?
Of course. There are 9 basic theories of intelligence that I've developed. The first is visual spatial.
So students who learn by seeing or visualizing?
Yes. The next is verbal linguistic, where hearing lectures or other things of that nature would benefit the students. And the third one would be logical mathematical, where students are more likely to understand when reasoning, numbers, and critical thinking are involved.
I believe that would be my weakest. I was never any good at math.
Well, the fourth is musical rhythmic and harmonic. This helps students who have a sensitivity to rhythm, sound, and music.
Now that sounds right up my alley.
Like I said, everyone has an aptitude for different things. The fifth is interpersonal, which focuses on an interaction between others, opposite of the next theory, which is intrapersonal. That has to deal with looking inward and self-reflection. The seventh is bodily kinesthetic.
I'm guessing that's good for our athletes and students like that who can't keep still in class.
That's very likely. The last two were not part of my original theories, but were added later. Naturalistic and existential. Naturalistic is where students are engaged when relating to plants or rock sorting and things like that, and existential is a more spiritual, religious type.
Well, that certainly is a lot, but I have to ask, what do you say to those who have said that you really don't expand on intelligence, but instead use it as a word in place of ability?
Well, I would say that they may be too narrow of a definition, and the different ways that people think and learn could help broaden that definition.
All right, what about IQ tests? Aren't they supposed to measure intelligence?
I believe that IQ tests only measure linguistic and logical mathematical abilities. We need to create a more intelligence-fair way to measure intelligence. We need to develop a test that will incorporate all styles of learning to show everyone's strengths.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Gardner.
No, thank you.